That was a little bit of Brian Keane for you. Bar Lights. You're listening to Mornings with Lone Star. It's 9:04. We have been getting the studio ready for a special guest. This is the world famous, right? World famous, is that right?
World famous? I guess you could say that.
I guess that's fine, right? I think I call it world famous. You're on the internet. So Kenna Danielle
Yes.
is in the studio, and you are from Conroe, correct?
Yes, I am.
And you're a local artist. And you have been around Conroe for quite some time. Like, you've been involved with the real life, real music, and basically playing around. How old are you?
Actually, I'm about to turn 16 in August.
Okay. And so with music, okay, we're going to jump right into this interview. We're going to have a little interview this morning with Kenna, and hopefully she'll play some songs. And she has a guitar. So I always say that, like, are you going to play some songs? Like, oh, I just brought this guitar.
This is my purse. I keep all my stuff inside the...
That would be pretty interesting. But you're going to play some music later. But right now, I really want to get to know you a little bit more. And you are from Conroe, like we said several times.
Yes.
Now, what school do you go to?
I go to Oak Ridge High School.
Oak Ridge High School. And how long have you been playing music?
I've been playing live for 3 years.
Okay. So live meaning like in front of your parents or live in front of an audience? Like a bigger audience?
Live in front of an audience. Actually about 2.5 years. I guess I got my first gig when I was 13 at this little tiny bar called a Wick Saloon in Cypress. And it's kind of funny because I actually visited again last week. And it was so weird to, this is where it all started, and it's so cool to see how, how far I've come in just these 2.5 years.
Hopefully you use that material right there for some music.
I should. That's a good idea.
And, actually I have a question for you, too, because you said when you were 13.
Yes.
I always wondered how, as an artist at 13, two things. How did you get to play in a bar? And then how do you cope with being so young while trying to do something that some people love? And it's really hard to hear it from a 13-year-old.
Yeah. Actually, I guess let's start with the first question. How did I get my first gig in a bar? Honestly, I met a guy by the name of Bruce. And, I first met him. I played my cousin's graduation party at a little place called On the Rock Sports Bar. It was during the day, and she was like, come on out, maybe you'll get a couple tips. I know you play. And this is before I'd really played in front of my family very much. So
13 and getting tips. That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And anyways, my cousin's dad's, one of his friends was there, and he was talking to me, Bruce, and he was like, you're really good. I can't believe you're only 13. I really think you got some good things going for you. And by this time I had, maybe a handful of originals. And he was talking to me and said, I can get you your first gig. Promise me, give me your number. I'll call you. And, we left that day going, okay, whatever. This, I don't think this will actually come to fruition, but it did. 2 weeks later, he called me and was like, hey, there's this bar down the road called Wick Saloon. Come play. And, my mom's like, a bar? Oh, okay, I guess. We'll be there. My parents come with me everywhere. So they agreed to it. And actually, the first gig I ever had, ended up being the first gig I had that I actually got paid to do. So...
Well, congratulations on that one at 13. I bet that was very special.
It was.
I'm telling you, writer's material right there. Mm-hmm. That's at least 2 songs. Right now.
Definitely.
So you write, because I'm looking at your CD right now, Good Reputation, and yes. you wrote most of your songs. Pretty much all of them.
All of the songs on the record I wrote or co-wrote, except for the last one.
And what's impressive to me is you're 16 and you're writing your own music, because I would say interviewing artists and understanding where they come from, the hardest hump to get over is producing a full album.
Yes.
Because one of the most amazing things I ever heard from one artist, he was a really good guy, really great artist. His name is Richard Savercool, and if he's listening right now, I hope he doesn't get mad at me. But he is working on a CD, and I go, hey, how many songs have you written? And he's written over 80-plus songs. And I'm like, 80 songs you've written down on a piece of paper? He's like, yeah. And I'm polishing them, 80 songs. I'm like, and you haven't produced an album yet? And then I was like, how many songs have you recorded? Oh, I've recorded about 40 songs. I'm like, why don't you just put an album together? And he's like, oh, well, I'm like, come on, put something out on the street so people can hear you. And you're 16 and you already have an album. So, Richard, if you're listening, competition is fierce and Good Reputation is out. The CD release party's coming up.
Yes, July 24th at Main Street Crossing at about 7 p.m. I'll be having my CD release party.
But luckily I'm here with it, and we actually have it here at Lone Star. So if you want to hear Kenna's music, request it, and we'll play it. I can probably play the whole CD. Is there anyone on here that you really like? Because Smoke was requested. Mm-hmm. And for you, what is your favorite?
Ooh, my favorite. That is a really tough one. Personally, I like them all because they're like little babies to me, like my little songs that I created, kind of. On that record, if I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably go with Homeless, because that's going to be my first single here pretty soon. Homeless or Restless, the two lesses.
I always see that, like I said, I always wondered about that process with a writer, because you wrote all your songs, and you get to choose what the single's going to be, what the first one, and it's always not the best one.
Yeah.
Because some people have an ear for singles, and some people have an ear for overall good albums.
Yes.
I'm more of a person who likes albums instead of just a single. But other people just like, buying the 99-cent single and stuff like that, and that's the way they like to listen to their music. So would you say overall this album's a strong album?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Everything I've heard so far, I've had it reviewed a few times, and even though it is my album, I really do believe it's a strong album.
Now, would you say with your process, when is your next album going to come out? Even though this one just was released, or going to be released in a couple weeks.
The next album, it's probably going to be an EP, which is a shorter. The one I produced recently, Good Reputation, that's a full length, and it has 10 songs on it. So the next one, we're probably not going to do full length because that's super expensive and time consuming.
Oh, yeah. No, it's so funny when people like me give you criticism, and I'm like, I don't even know really what goes involved. And actually, I was going to give you one more piece of advice, but this is just from a fan, what I really like. So you don't have to take it. You can be like, this guy's an idiot. Don't worry about it. But like with EPs, one thing I really love what people do is, say you have your 5 songs, and they usually have one of those songs as a really good acoustic version of that song.
Yeah.
And so when they play live somewhere, they'll find a really good version and put that on the EP as kind of like a special note or like a extra song, because it says, 5 EP songs plus 1 live track or something like that.
That's what we were thinking about doing with Red, White, and Blue before we came up with the 10th song. But I really didn't want an acoustic song on this album, but in maybe the next EP, I would love to do an acoustic version of Red, White, and Blue, because I do it so differently, full band versus acoustic, because acoustic, it's more of a slower or mid-tempo, kind of, I don't want to say depressing, but it's a very meaningful song. And it still is really meaningful on my album. It's just faster in a different tone. So
no, because that really is me as a person who loves music. I kind of drive into a deeper appreciation when I hear either an acoustic or album version, because I'm like, man, this sounds so different. And you start listening to it a little bit more and a little bit more, and then I just go, this person's good. Like, I only like the live version though, or the acoustic version compared to the album version, or vice versa, depending on which kind of song it is. So that's one thing I always love seeing when I see artist albums, because it adds a lot of value to it, because it's like, oh, this person does play live. Maybe I should go check them out live. Probably the greatest example I can give you is Corb Lund. You know who Corb Lund is? He's a Canadian, but he plays a lot of Texas kind of music, country music. You do? You knew?
I know of him. I don't.
But that's what he did with his recent album. Is he actually released the album, and then he had an acoustic, basically B-side of all of his songs.
That's really cool.
So I was like, man, it's really neat. And of course, the album was twice as much, because you're really buying 2 albums. But that was fine with me. I didn't care. I wanted to hear the acoustic versions. So that's cool. So you're going to play a song with us.
Yes.
For us, not with us. So, but what song are you going to be playing?
Well, I guess since we just talked about it, I guess I'll do Red, White, and Blue.
Oh, perfect.
This song, like I said, it's a lot more meaningful acoustically. I wrote this it was actually the first song I ever wrote. I was 12.
12 years old. Man.
Yeah. I probably about this time was when I wrote it, when I was 12, so 4 years ago. And I wrote the song for my brother Justin. He was in the military, and fortunately, he was one of the ones that made it back home. And when he was home on leave, I wrote this song for him. And it was cool because he didn't know I was writing it when he was home. I did it when he was, out of the house. And then we had a coming home party for him, and I played it for him then. And he cried in front of 300 of our family members, and it was great. I remember that day, dropping you off at the airport with so much left to say. You wouldn't look at me right for fear that I would find that insecurity head on in your eyes. That was when I realized even soldiers cry sometimes. I'm running to the mailbox, my face turning red. Every night I'm on my knees right beside my bed. The phone rings so worried I turn white. Just missing you, I'm red, white and blue. I miss you like crazy. I'm counting down the days till your plane lands on American sand. In case you didn't know, everyone back home is so proud, and you sacrifice everything every day. You don't even complain. I'm running to the mailbox, my face turning red. Every night I'm on my knees right beside my bed. The phone rings so worried I turn white. Just missing you, I'm red, white and blue. So blue. When you got off that plane, all my troubles slipped away. I'm thinking everything's gonna be okay. Running to the mailbox, my face turning red. Every night I'm on my knees right beside my bed. The phone rings so worried I turn white. Just missing you, I'm red, white, and running to the mailbox, my face turning red. Every night I'm on my knees right beside my bed. The phone rings so worried I turn white. Just missing you, I'm red, white, and blue. So blue, so blue.
Kenna Danielle,
Yes.
that was great. I can understand why your brother cried.
Oh yeah.
I can definitely understand that. But we're going to take a quick break, and I want to let the listeners know, if you enjoyed that song, make sure to check out KennaDanielle.com. That's KennaDanielle, KennaDanielle.com. We're going to take a quick break here on Lone Star in the Mornings. We'll be back with more Kenna, so make sure to stay tuned. You're listening to Lone Star Internet Radio, now for Lone Star's Weather Report. Today is Tuesday, July 15th, 2014. Today's weather forecast, there's a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms today. Partly sunny with a high near 94. Heat index values as high as 101. Later tonight, there's a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms before 1 a.m. Mostly cloudy with a low around 72.
This weather forecast is brought to you by Donalwick Public Relations. You've seen the billboards. That's right, Wicked Publicity. Contact them today at 832-326-1965 and visit wickedpublicity.com.
I was lost, oh, searching, treading on shaky ground. I was steady backsliding every time I turned around. But my heart was broken. I turned to whiskey and a neon sign until heaven shined a little light on the path of my life. Well, it's a long way home, and Lord knows I've strayed between the hurt and the tears. I've had my share of pain, but I kept on keeping on, and I kept my faith between the bottle and the Bible. Somehow I found my way. Well, I guess I just got sick and tired of being tired. My soul was fighting battles, my heart paid the price. But when you're sitting on the bottom, you got nowhere else to turn. So I called up to the heavens, and the good Lord sent down His word. Well, it's a long way home, and Lord knows I've strayed between the hurt and the tears. I've had my share of pain, but I kept on keeping on, and I kept my faith between the bottle and the Bible. Somehow I found my way. Life looks so much better without bloodshot eyes. Not quite where I wanna be, but I'm no longer blind. Now I realize, well, it's a long way home, and Lord knows I've strayed between the hurt and the tears. I've had my share of pain, but I kept on keeping on, and I kept my faith between the bottle and the Bible. Somehow I found my way. Between the bottle and the Bible, somehow I found my way.
Kenna Danielle, Between the Bottle and the Bible. You're listening to Lone Star in the mornings, 9:23. Fortunately, if you're just now tuning in, you like that song. She's actually in the studio with me live, and we're talking about songwriting, which is one of my favorite topics. On top of that, her CD release party happening at Main Street Crossing on July 24th. Doors open at 6 p.m. And
Right.
if you want to come see a CD release parties are always kind of different from normal venues, would you say?
They are very different. One difference being it's definitely a huge party. I feel like it's bigger than most of my normal shows. I did one back in May at Cypress Saloon, and it was great. You know, everyone there got their CD, and I played every song on the record, and it was just a good old time.
That's good. It's going to be a lot of fun. July 24th at Main Street Crossing. Kenna Danielle, doors open at 6 p.m.
Yes.
So, and then also I keep telling Kenna Danielle at KennaDanielle.com is where you kind of post everything and or if you're a fan, that's the main place you want people to go to.
Yes.
Now let's get back to the interview because we can promote you all day by playing your music. But
Hey.
all these songs, like you just did, Red, White, and Blue, that was a really intimate song.
Yes.
Through the acoustic version, you can tell you really did write it for your brother, and you got your sense of emotion. And it's amazing to me. At 12 years old, you wrote that.
Yes, I was 12.
Now your father's in the studio, and that's one thing. Have you ever noticed? Has it happened yet when they see you as more than their daughter? That's more of like this woman is an artist.
Honestly, yes. It took a while for it to happen because my parents are so supportive, but they're also realistic. When I first started playing, like when I first played in front of them ever, they listened to me and they're like, well, you're good. But before they let me play like my first gig, they wanted to hear other people's opinion. They didn't want to. And people that were, my mom was actually good friends with a guy by the name of Tim Nichols, and we actually wrote Between the Bottle and the Bible together. And he is a musician, and he's middle-aged about, and my mom really wanted his opinion, his honest opinion, because she didn't want to put me out there without, she didn't want me to be out there and just getting eaten up, So she got his opinion, and then, after he was like, no, really, you need to get her playing. So she did, and it's just kind of cool because they were realistic at first, and they weren't, the whole, my daughter is good and she's my daughter, But I really appreciate that about them.
I think because that's one thing that amazes me when you're saying you started writing at a younger age, like 12, and wrote that song. I'm thinking as you develop your skill and fine-tune everything, there's going to be at one moment where you go to the next level, and you're already there at 16. You already have your album, having a release party. So when you look at them as in steps of your career, what's next after the release party? Are you going to try to do a tour? Because you're only 16. You're in school, so
yeah, that's the tough thing. I do go to Oak Ridge High School, so it's kind of funny. No one really knows what exactly I do because most of my shows are 18 and up.
Yeah.
So all of my friends are like, when can we see you? But the next step, I would say, is releasing my single, Homeless. I talked to a radio promoter because I really have no idea what single I want to release because I like all those songs on there. And Dylan told me, go with Homeless. It's, it's one of the best ones. So we're thinking about releasing Homeless here pretty soon. And we're going to set up a radio tour. I don't know when exactly it's going to be, I guess whenever we're releasing Homeless, but soon.
Because your generation, I would say the current promotion generation, is definitely heavily emphasized on YouTube. Because a lot of people, ever since I guess 12 years ago, when was Americans Got Talent or whatever, American Idol, that's when people started getting discovered, and how people started sharing music. And then of course you have the YouTube artists who just play songs on YouTube and just keep playing and playing and playing. Now, is that something you do, or is that something you see being part of the younger crowd being able to have access to you? Because 18 and up, what about your friends?
Honestly, iTunes is probably the best way for people under the age of 18 to listen to my music. YouTube is also a good avenue, but because I do play to, I don't want to say an older crowd, but older than me crowd.
Well, definitely. I mean, look at the song you just wrote at 12. That to me, that I wouldn't think of a 12-year-old writing that song.
Yeah, I'm proud of that one. I'm probably one of the few people out there that can say they really enjoy their first song ever written. But I guess YouTube I use more of an avenue for venues wanting to see that I actually do play live.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I use YouTube very much to get my music out there. I use it more as a reference. So
that's good. No, it's really interesting to see what artists choose to do with their careers and how to build a reputation with their audience and also with venues, and then especially when they're with their music, because some people like to make their music only accessible through certain online sites, or they want to do it everywhere. They sell them everywhere and they give them away, because that's one thing, they give away CDs or things like that. And I'm always interested in hearing what you choose to do. And so you're, like you said, you're right there, like the radio tour is going to hopefully come up, and you're going to release your first single, and then you'll start touring. You think touring is going to be kind of fun for you? Have you got a taste of it?
Touring, well, first of all, I feel like my parents are the best roadies and chauffeurs because I can't even drive yet. So they're the ones that are in charge of taking me everywhere. But I really think I will enjoy it. Touring with a band, I'm working on that because a lot of the musicians that I use, I do have a full band to use, but they're older. They all have families. They have kids, so they don't like to travel as much. So I'm working on finding musicians that are closer to my age that are willing to travel for not much pay. And, you know, it's hard to find. So we'll see how touring with the band goes.
Yeah, because that's one thing we were talking about earlier in the show about the acoustic, and then you have the band.
Yes.
And sometimes a strong band can make the song be remembered by the audience. And then, of course, sometimes the acoustic version's remembered because of just how the song's written and how the artist really gives it out.
Right.
So it's going to be fun. You should be really excited about what's ahead of you. You really are. You're in a really neat position. And since you go to Oak Ridge, you're going to be graduating, right? You're going to be graduating next year, I think. Are you a senior this year? Or you're
I'm going into my junior year.
Junior year, okay.
Yes.
So is school going to be something you're going to complete before really pushing everything else, or?
I guess I kind of want to do both hand in hand. Fortunately, grades have never been a problem for me, so.
Oh, great! She's talented and smart.
Fortunately, I don't know how, but somehow that's worked out in my favor. So I plan on, I actually still do shows during the school year. Very rarely I'll do one during a weekday, but Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, sometimes even Thursdays, I can do shows. So I kind of plan on doing it hand in hand.
It's also a great time to write, I imagine. So next thing you know, next year you'll have 100 songs written.
Yeah.
and that way that you just know the ground's been laid out. You just got to get going forward.
Yeah.
So do you want to play another song for us, or am I putting you on the spot?
Oh, no, I'd love to. I'll actually go ahead and do a new song.
Okay. Never been heard?
Actually, I played it live for the first time on Friday.
Okay.
So this is hot off the paper, I guess you can say.
What's it called? You gotta let me know.
Well, actually, I do have. It's called "Drink Alone," and It's funny because people hear my songs and they're like, "How do you even know what this is?" And I guess I don't. I tend to write songs about other people, and a lot of my songs are metaphors where I can integrate them into my life, but I notice, like, I play to 20, 30, 40-year-olds, so I look at their lives because they don't want to hear a song about, failing the chemistry test and losing the boyfriend. They want to hear songs about real life, like the real world. So I try to write to that crowd. So This one is the latest one called Drink Alone. You don't need to know my story. You don't need to know why I'm at this bar with a broken heart. I appreciate the free drinks and I'll gladly share a light, but I'm not leaving with you tonight. 'Cause I'm not trying to forget, I don't wanna get over him. So I'll pay my tab and I'll call a cab and I'll head home. I'd rather drink alone. I'd rather drink alone. Well, I know what you were expecting when you saw me walk in here on my own. Ooh, but I hope you know I'm not trying to forget. I don't wanna get over him. So I'll pay my tab and I'll call a cab and I'll head home. I'd rather drink alone. I'd rather drink alone. Well, it's 2 in the morning, and before you get the wrong impression. I'll give you fair warning. I'm not trying to forget. Well, I'm never getting over him. So I'll pay my tab now, call a cab and head home. 'Cause I'd rather drink alone. I'd rather drink alone. Yes, I'd rather drink alone. I'd rather drink alone.
That was Kenna Danielle's with Drink Alone, hot off the paper, right? Is that how you described it?
Yeah, hot off the paper.
That's a good song.
Thank
and
you.
it's kind of neat to see your insight to something like you said you don't really know, but you see other people.
Yeah.
And no, okay, we gotta go to a break. We have to go to a break. We're on the radio.
Man.
But I do have one more question before we go. So you're writing the song in someone else's perspective or somebody you know. Do you let them know?
No, actually, a lot of people I write songs about, they don't know. I don't know them. They're complete strangers.
Oh, okay.
When, you're playing on stage and, whatever bar, and you look out and you see that person sitting on the bar stool at the bar talking to the bartender, and you can just tell in their eyes, classic country song right there.
Okay, good. I like that. I like that a lot. That's pretty funny. We're going to take a quick break. Kenna Danielle's in the studio, KennaDanielle.com for more information. We'll be right back with her. Going to close out this morning's with Lone Star. Don't forget the Mark and Cindy Show starting at 10 o'clock, so stay tuned. You're listening to Lone Star in the mornings.
Imagine a new mother has just delivered her first child, and doctors decide to transport him to the neonatal intensive care unit of a specialty children's hospital 90 miles away. A young couple's world has just turned upside down, and now they have to find a hotel for the next 2 months. Caden's Hope can help. Caden's Hope focuses on alleviating the unexpected financial burden associated with last-minute travel, hotel arrangements, air travel for out-of-town family, gasoline, credit cards, parking, groceries, and the list is endless. And all while worrying about the medical condition of their newborn child. Caden's Hope grew out of the very real-life struggles and financial hardships faced by a young couple in California. A bed to sleep in, food to eat, parking, and other essential daily needs. You can help by joining Caden's Hope and providing a tax-deductible contribution. Your generous support, when added to others, will help a family remain overnight near the hospital in a warm, safe hotel close to their child. To learn more, please visit cadenshope.org. Caden's Hope, providing hope in the midst of trial.
I cut my teeth on the working man blues. It's when I knew I was hooked on Haggard tunes. Yeah, I was with the boys, feeling no pain. That's when I heard blue eyes crying in the rain. I was raised by a good old redneck mother, jamming out to old Ray Wiley Hubbard. We used to head up to the river on uncloudy days, laughed at how the time just slipped away. So here's to Willie, here's to Waylon. Must not have been too afraid of failing, 'cause they didn't do what they were told to do. They just made music for people like me and you. Oh, and now they're all hanging on the wall, way on past last call down at Old Green Hall. Come on, Bree.
Once upon a time, they were all outlaw drifters, but they headed back south to that Whiskey River, starting a whole new what they were told to do. They just made music for people like me and you. Oh, and now they're all hanging on the wall, way on past last call down at Old Green Hall.
Here's to the good-hearted women, and God bless the rambling men. So here's to Willie, here's to Waylon. Must not have been too afraid of failing, 'cause they did not do what they were told to do. They just made music for people like me and you. Oh, and now they're all hanging on the wall, way on past last call down at Old Green Hall.
A little bit of Kenna Danielle. She has been the feature here on Lone Star in the Mornings. Welcome back. She's in the studio right now. We're going to be closing up this segment of Mornings with Lone Star because we're going to gear up for the Mark and Cindy show. They have some special guests also. I think it's always nice to have mornings like this where people are just coming and going. And as you can imagine, the studio gets pretty busy here in downtown Conroe. So we're going to be closing out this segment. Like I said, you can get your music from KennaDanielle.com.
Yes.
And your next big event is coming up on the 24th.
Yes.
At Main Street Crossing. It's going to be your first CD release party.
Actually, it's going to be my
Or I guess
a second,
well,
but
full album. How about that?
Full album.
There we
yes.
go. Good. I'm not always wrong. No. So do you have an EP? Is that what you have?
No, actually, I did a CD release party for this CD back in May.
Okay.
But it wasn't family friendly. So.
Friendly. Oh, that's right. Because see, that's what I'm saying. You're always going to be running into this issue until you're 21 because people don't think you're 16.
Yeah.
Especially you're writing at 12. Like it's going to blow people's minds. I think is what's going to happen.
Well, thank you.
Maybe it would develop a little bit more of interest because when you hear, I guess when you that song about your brother, Red, White, and Blue, like you were 12 years old when you wrote that. That's amazing. But so that's your CD release party, kid friendly, which is always important.
Bring the whole family.
Bring the family. Yes, at Main Street Crossing. At July 24th, doors open at 6.
Yes.
Now, anything else you want to announce or like say I'm a fan? How do you interact with fans? So I go to your Facebook or do you do Twitter or?
Yeah, actually, I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Reverb Nation. I try to check it pretty regularly. I also have an email on my website where you can contact me directly. I try to be very interactive, and I'm not one of those, you have to talk to my people before you get to me. I'm always there, so if you're messaging me on my Facebook page or anything, it's always me, never anybody else. So that's how I interact.
Okay, good. So you have the standard social media, and then if you for your upcoming tours or venue playing or CD release parties, they can just check you out at KennaDanielle.com.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. You're just down the street, so you're more than welcome to come down to Lone Star anytime.
Awesome.
And make sure to keep us informed of what's going on with you, because we love to talk about you, even though you're not in the studio. So
awesome. Will do. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. The Mark and Cindy Show is coming up on Lone Star Internet Radio. We're going to take a quick break. You mentioned Roger Krieger. We're going to be playing him right now. Here's I Love Being Lonesome. What's the deal with people being alone all the time with Texas country music? Thanks again, Kenna, for being in here, and we'll be right back on Mornings with Lone Star.
Hey, everyone. This is Tina, your host from Retro Saturdays. I wanted to invite you to visit the Lone Star Studios here in downtown Conroe, Texas. We're all volunteers here, and we need your help in serving the Montgomery County area. Radio media is a fun field to be in. Lone Star Internet Radio serves Montgomery County with news, current events, local programming, and of course, music. If you are interested in volunteering and sharing your talents in media, go to irlonestar.com and let us hear from you. Lone Star Internet Radio, serving Montgomery County from the heart of downtown Conroe.